I'm Mark James. Well, spring has sprung here at Beech Grove. Of course, all of us here at Beech Grove High School, we're filming this just a couple of days before the start of spring break, and not going to lie to anybody, that's kind of our focus. And we're getting ready to close out the final quarter of the year, believe it or not. This 2014-15 calendar year has certainly flown by. We have enjoyed throughout the course of this year meeting another outstanding crop of Hall of Fame inductees, and today certainly no exception. We welcome a 1990 graduate of Beech Grove City Schools and Beech Grove High School, Gary Coons. Gary, first of all, welcome. Happy to have you.
Yes.
We'll do the same thing with you that we do with all of our other graduates. So describe what life was like here at Beech Grove High School for Gary Coons in 1990.
You know, it was a lot of fun. You always miss those days. Growing up, you have friends that you go to school with all the way through from kindergarten on up. You know, and then you graduate, and you know that that next year that everyone's going to be separated and going somewhere else. So, you know, you lose touch. But Facebook has all brought it back into,
That's right.
to Spectrum, so you can see what your friends are and what they're doing. But school life here was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Principal was Tommy Thompson, and then we had a couple other principals like shortly after. But it was a lot of fun. Mr. Bain had a strong influence on my life. He was just one of those guys that you could always go to and turn to.
Sure. Any extracurriculars? What involvement did you have when you were in high school?
You know, I was in the Jubilaires and band, and I had played sports for a little while. I'd gotten sick. I was a swimmer and did some wrestling as well. And I'd gotten sick, had a mass in my lung my sophomore year. So once I was cured, or the mass was taken out, I really couldn't do the sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended that part. But the rest of it was fun. A lot of memories, a lot of good memories.
Well, you talk about being involved in band and Jubilaires. What a lot of people don't realize is that oftentimes the commitment level is just as high as it is with athletics. It may not always be as physically strenuous as wrestling or football, but certainly a time commitment there which teaches time management. So was there a point in after things went well with the treatment of your illness, was there a point when you started to kind of focus in on maybe not so much where you wanted to go to school, but what you wanted to do once you left Beech Grove High School?
Yeah, I wanted to, when I was in my junior to senior year, I was finally, I gotten over the illness. I was looking at going into the medical field. I didn't end up there, but it was a passion that I had at the time, and I started out there, and then as soon as I got into college, I got wrapped up in other things, and now I'm here where I'm at now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about college, where you ended up once you graduated from Beech Grove, and then we'll have you cover all of your, I guess, post-Beech Grove years, and then we'll get into career development.
Sure. I actually started out at I started at IUPUI, and then I transferred over to Ivy Tech to get a public safety associate's degree, and then went back to IUPUI and the School of Engineering and Technology as a degree in organizational leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I'd gotten on the fire department at that time and worked my way through, I got hired on, was promoted to a lieutenant, and then I decided that arson was where my passion was. I wanted to do more investigations. I was hired by the coroner's office as a deputy coroner doing death investigations, so I go to the scene and work with the pathologist to determine how someone had passed. And then I went to the ATF. I went through the ATF school down in Glencoe, which ATF was one of the lead federal agencies for arsons and explosives. So I was down there actually during 9/11 when that occurred, finishing up training to fulfill my dream of going to becoming an arson investigator or fire investigator. So then once I got into that, then the whole transition from fire to law enforcement started taking place. Some people say I took the wrong path. Most police officers say they wish they weren't firefighters, but I really enjoyed the investigative side and the prevention side. So I kept going, and I really enjoyed doing that. Then I got hurt just a small shoulder injury on the job. And then I was investigating a fire actually in Beech Grove. And a year later was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease from what we believe the exposures of it and what could lead to it. I work with a doctor at IUPOI, the IU School of Medicine, and we're doing different testing on different, like, what's called C. elegans, and watching dopamine producing neurons slowly disappear when it's exposed to heavy metals.
Okay.
So started doing that. Was elected trustee of Perry Township, and then Director Newman, Scott Newman, who also has Parkinson's, had asked me to consider coming to work for him to assist with the Super Bowl. He needed somebody to run the Super Bowl. So once I decided to go that path, you only have Super Bowls maybe once in your life that you would ever manage. I started changing my schooling up. I went to the Naval Postgraduate School for Center for Homeland Defense and Security for a master's program there, and then I also went to a Harvard program for senior leadership. And then the city decided to go towards the more Homeland Security side. So once we got the law passed to organize Homeland Security, it was a new challenge because I had police officers now, I had firefighters, I had emergency management people, all now come together and working for me in this new division. So it's been a fun ride, been a learning experience. I learn every day. I mean, what I can say with education is it's very important. You're always going to learn. If you want to advance, you need to. You're in the field like we're in. You're always going to be in school or getting some type of education.
Well, it's interesting to me that first of all, you don't seem like a person that's really ever reached a level of contentment. You're always looking for a new challenge, maybe a new chapter. Perhaps this job that you're in now with Homeland Security provides that, which allows you to stay in that position. But in terms of preparing for the position that you have now, you talk about having all of these entities come together under one umbrella. You were eminently qualified for this position, as you suggest, because all of the entities that are working under you are all entities that you have a working knowledge of.
Yes, yeah. And, I went to school to learn about it. And,
sure.
The Homeland Security is a challenge in and of itself. We're not, I wish things would happen like they happen on TV, where you have a suspect or a perpetrator and you can stop the situation from occurring, or if this situation occurred, you can arrest them, have them jailed, and have court over within an hour.
So it's not that easy?
No. No. And there's so many misconceptions. We're constantly trying to educate the public on what everyone thinks that Big Brother's out there, and so we're constantly trying to explain what we really are capable of doing and what we have the ability to do. Now there are some classified things that we don't talk about, but it's really I wish the TV would portray it a little bit differently because it makes our job tougher.
Well, let's take this opportunity. People may be under the impression that Homeland Security doesn't have a fit here in the city of Indianapolis. They may not even be assured of what Homeland Security is. They may think it's just specifically to make sure that the shores here at home are safe from intruders from the outside. So let's, if we can, give kind of a thumbnail sketch of exactly what Homeland Security is.
So Homeland Security for the city is different than for the state and for the feds. For the city, what we did is we brought officers in that were in certain sections of IMPD into Homeland Security, rolled them up into Homeland Security, like our SWAT team, our bomb team, the intelligence section, the arson section. We have motorcycles because of special events, the helicopter. So we have, quite a few different sections underneath us. And then we also have a little bit portion of the fire department, not a whole lot. And then emergency management. Because Homeland Security, when there's a disaster or an incident, they look to Homeland Security for resources. They look for Homeland Security to try and mitigate the situation, because that's what we plan for on a day-to-day basis, and that's what we plan for on that the mayor has a plan that if this occurs, this is what happens.
So it's important, if I may interject, this is not a reactive organization. This is a proactive organization.
Right. Okay. We try to mitigate things prior to them happening. We're not always so lucky, but it is a division that we actually look to prevent with intelligence, getting intelligence. We work with the schools. That's another thing that we do here in the city. All the schools, including Beech Grove, have logins into a network, and they update all their information, their crisis plans, their maps, all the information that's specific to the school. If an active shooter comes in here or something happens here, then we have direct access to that information. That one, before it was all in books. It was just a book that may have been updated every 5 to 6 years. So it's outdated. You didn't have current contacts. You didn't have current maps if they had changed things around. So now we can come in, and if something happens, like even a tornado, and you have a building collapse, we can look at the plan and say, okay, kids should be in this section. So we can start our rescue efforts there by partnering with the school systems. And we got I took it as a huge compliment. The state of Texas came up here and met with a couple of schools up here, state of Texas Education, Department of Education, and they're purchasing and following our software program.
That's a stamp of approval.
So, yeah, and California's doing the same. LA, I just talked with intelligence officer from LA about doing the same thing. So we're really excited about leading some of the ways of prevention and sharing of information. What we're doing as part of that same program is we're sharing information with the schools.
So networking is huge as part of this process.
Yeah. You don't want to meet somebody at a disaster for the first time. Mm-hmm. You want to know and know their how they react and what resources they have. So the partnership with schools, we're going to start giving them social media type tracking. They have incident tracking, so they can see what's going on around them. So if there's 5 police cars down the street and you're getting ready to let go of the students to go home, you can see if it's safe to send them that way by looking through this program as the direction we've went and are heading. There's a lot of social media out there and social media is an open network out there that anybody can see. Even the average citizen could go online and pull down software that will track social media, certain words, certain keywords. But it does, what's interesting today is people will tell you what they're doing before they do it.
Sure.
At times. And we just want to try and mitigate that or get them help. We've had several incidents where we were able to mitigate it and get the person help before anything ever happened, and no one ever hears about that. But it's one of those things that where we feel successful is that we mitigated it and stopped it. And we don't need press for it. We don't need this or accolades for it. We just need to know that we stopped it from occurring and got this person help or put this person in jail that was going to cause a problem.
Well, that allows us to kind of transition into this topic, cyber terror. How big of a concern? It's got to be a massive concern, especially some of the headlines we've seen lately. And is it something that is getting even more attention now from Homeland Security?
Yeah, it's one of our biggest threats, if not the biggest threat. Cybersecurity it's a very challenging type investigation, very challenging world, because you may not know you're attacked. You may not know somebody's pulling information off your system through a virus or through a program. We just here recently we've had you've seen Anthem. They were attacked. Some of the other not as notoriety, the Trax blog site, the Indianapolis 500 Trax blog site was attacked. Had ISIS information on there. And we've been working with other cases here locally as well where they've been attacked or money's been taken from an organization and deposited somewhere else, or So cybersecurity, the biggest challenge is it could be anywhere
Right.
in the world.
Right.
And we don't have the authority, because you have sovereign countries, just to walk over into a sovereign country and arrest someone.
So, do the firewalls and the protections come from? Would they come from Apple? Would they come from IBM? Would they come from Hewlett Packard and those companies that are in charge with manufacturing that technology? Is that who we're working with to try to create the firewalls that are needed?
Yeah, there's a group called on the federal side, U.S. CERT. It's U.S. and then CERT. And you can go to their website and you can see the latest updates from each company. Like iOS has a patch for a certain vulnerability. Microsoft puts out a patch for a certain vulnerability, because they're constantly looking for vulnerabilities. As one gets stopped, the hackers are looking for another way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're constantly battling that. But we try to do the best that we can to investigate any attack. But there's times where there's no relief because it's in a foreign country. Where they could withdraw money from an account and deposit it overseas and take the money and run, and there's no way for us to get to them. Especially if it's a sovereign country that doesn't want us in their country to arrest anyone. So it's tough. It's a tough environment, and I tell you, the strongest things I can tell you about cybersecurity is when people are telling you to change your passwords, change your passwords.
Change your passwords, yeah. Sure.
Constantly,
Mm-hmm.
do it regularly, and don't use common passwords. Use things that are just totally different, and then also constantly update your antivirus software. Don't download things that you don't know where they come from.
Right.
If somebody sends you something, an attachment, and you're like, well, you never sent me an attachment before, give them a call before you open it. Because they might not send it. They might have been hacked, and your email address was pulled, and they sent it to you, so it looks like it's coming from this individual. And that's how a lot of this stuff works.
All seem very sensible, but unfortunately, some people are beyond novices when it comes, or less than novices when it comes to dealing with the internet and computers and whatnot. And those are the people that oftentimes get preyed upon. But unfortunately, with some of the cybersecurity issues that we've had of late, it involves people who are very, very knowledgeable about issues. So let's talk about the city of Indianapolis. Obviously, the Indianapolis 500. There's Bankers Life Fieldhouse. There's Lucas Oil Stadium. Do you ever rest from worrying about the challenges that are involved with making sure that those venues are safe and secure, not only for the participants, but for the fans and the people there to enjoy them?
Sure. Yeah. We're constantly reviewing our plans. Every event, we create what's called an after-action report. And we go over, so during the event, we'll write things down. Next time we need to do this, or we need to change this, whether it's a traffic pattern or something that we thought would work and it didn't, or it caused more inefficiencies or it caused problems. So we're constantly looking at that. But yeah, I mean, there's times where you're thinking at night that, tomorrow's a big day. I hope everything goes all right. And that doesn't mean that somebody's attacking. It could be a storm. That's, 5 years ago during the Final Four, we had a storm roll in.
Sure.
And we had to get the gates opened up earlier than expected. So it doesn't mean solely just that somebody's going to be attacked, but it could be a natural disaster as well. And we always want to do our best to provide the safest environment without being intrusive. So we don't want... Our biggest goal is to, we're there, but you're not seeing us, or
right.
you're not
sure.
following us.
Yeah.
So...
the Indianapolis 500, I've had the pleasure of working there for a number of years now, and the command center is on the 9th floor.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about all the entities that you work with Homeland Security. For an event like the Indianapolis 500, is that the largest interwoven detail of agencies, perhaps of maybe any event outside of an Olympic Games?
Well, a Super Bowl is a little bit more. The U.S. government rates special events every year. So if you have the president involved, or a very high level country another foreign dignitary, a prime minister, or somebody like that, they consider that what's called a national security special event, and the Secret Service is the lead agency for that. And then after that, they start dropping them down. So after 9/11, the Super Bowl in New Orleans was an NSSE. But every year after that, they dropped it down to what's called a SEER 1, which is a Special Event Assessment Rating. That's the highest, still locally controlled event that is recognized as from the federal government. So we had 35 federal agencies here, all had a role. We had several state and local agencies that assisted. So the Super Bowl is probably the most intriguing, most complicating. You spend 3 years planning for a Super Bowl or a presidential type event or the Olympics. The next one is the 500. The 500 is now what's called a SEER 2. So we still get all the federal assets. We have a federal coordinator, but not as many. You know, it's a little bit smaller of all the assets that come in. But as far as the number of people attending, there's a lot more attending the 500 than what they did at the Super Bowl in one given event. So it is challenging to have to deal with, you know, you look at the 500 with the 9th floor and all the agencies that have to participate. The town of Speedway, police department they're great at what, you know, doing what they're doing. But you know, it's a smaller department, so
right.
This, you know, us and the state police come in. What's unique about Speedway, even Beech Grove, and some of these other cities inside is Unigov. So my agency, being a county-style agency, still underneath the city and the mayor, we still hold jurisdiction in areas because the town of Speedway, the city of Beech Grove, they still vote for
Sure.
2 mayors, 2 councilors. They still pay taxes. So we're a little bit different in that way, but we tend to work with whoever is the main agency there, just to because they know the whole unique aspects of what's going on, and they've been around. Most of them have been around for years anyway, so it's not like they don't know how to run a 500, because they do. They run it very well. So we just come in and assist, but it is unique. I mean, when you're dealing with that many agencies up there on that 9th floor, and 300 and some thousand people, you know, all in and out of the stadium or the track there, and it's a 2.5 mile oval.
Right.
That's so spread out. You have a lot of things that happen that entire weekend. You know, not this last year, but the year prior, I worked the Carb Day, which we had the Poison concert that day, and there was like 85,000 people that attended that. Had an event that night downtown that we had to work. Saturday morning was the parade, which we worked. Then Saturday night's the night before the 500, which has a lot of unique aspects of it, as you well know, that we worked.
That's a good phrase for it. Unique aspect. That's right.
And then we had the race on Sunday, you know, and we have to be there, you know, by 4 a.m. And then Sunday night, as soon as I had to leave the race with 10 laps left to get downtown, because I had the Miami Pacer
Right.
Championship game.
Playoff game, yeah.
So,
And now there's the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, which starts off the month of May. It's probably the worst kept secret in entertainment, but possibility that the Rolling Stones, are coming to Indianapolis July 4th weekend. So, needless to say, you always have something on your plate, especially in this city. As much as we like the attention, and as much as we like the events, it does present some challenges for your department.
Sure, we have over 1,000 events in our system. Every year we're tracking on 385 events at least a year. That we may not be providing resources at a large amount, or maybe just an officer, but we're tracking it and making sure that we know what's going on and what they're doing. You know, if it's downtown, they're shutting streets down. There's a science behind streets getting shutting down.
Like Georgetown Road, for example.
Yeah.
You know, the roundabout there, which now has eliminated Georgetown as a through street. That's, you know, it's not just economic development. There's safety in mind there.
Yeah. And, you know, So we look at all aspects, even the convention center when it holds events, and they may ask if they can shut down one of the lanes for buses or something, and we have to advise them if we're going to allow it, what time they can do it, because if they don't do it during this time, they can't do it. We'll deny it because it's all unique to how people move and how we want people to move through downtown and stay moving and not getting aggravated with sitting because a lane was shut down when we could have shut it down at a different time and caused less of a headache.
So I have to ask you before we let you go. My family, over the years that I've been in primarily radio, I don't listen to radio the way most people do. I mean, you're always listening. So when the tie's off and you're out of an evening, do you ever can you go into a restaurant and just sit down and enjoy your meal, or if you're in a public place downtown or something, or are you always thinking about ways this maybe could be safer? If you see something that's a concern of yours, do you ever relax a little bit and take some time off, or are you always wearing that hat?
I try my best.
You just answered my question.
And my family understands. I can't sit with my back to the door.
Right.
So they, when we go to a restaurant, I'm always sitting with my, face to the door. I try my best to relax, but you've cell phones these days are tied to your hip, and something goes wrong, you're getting a call or something, could be occurring or they may have questions about. It's always there, and you're always. Every Saturday so far, I've not had off because of a cyber attack. So I'm hoping this Saturday will be my first Saturday.
Well, you and I have something in common as it pertains to the 500. You told me this before we went on. You said you don't sleep very well before the 500, if at all. I don't either, but mine's for a far different reason than yours. And as somebody who's worked that event for a number of years, I can't thank you enough for the efforts of you and your agency. And we want to knock wood, as they say. I think people underestimate how lucky we are. There's issues there when you're dealing with 300,000 people, but hopefully the Lord will continue to bless us and continue to make that a fabulous, safe event. And thanks for all of your efforts in making that happen.
Thank you. I love it.
And congratulations to you from this day forward. How's it feel to be a Hall of Famer here at Beech Grove High School?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was honored to get the call. I didn't know there was such a thing that was going on, and I'm very honored.
Well, if you go out there and look at the Wall of Fame, all of those who went in before you, they're from all walks of life. There's firemen, there's doctors, there's lawyers, there's educators, people in media, and I can think of no one that's more deserving than you. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. That's going to wrap it up, and we want to congratulate again Gary Coons, inductee into the Beech Grove Hall of Fame. Wiley Kraft is the producer of this segment. We also want to thank our assistant principal, Randy Clevenger, for his help in securing these interviews. Regardless of when you're watching this, we hope you have a happy, safe, and enjoyable spring. We're more than willing to say goodbye to Old Man Winter. I'm Mark Janes. So long for now.